All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Whatever time this video catches you, Lisa Hayes here with another episode of Weddings and Wars, because those are the two main things that are coming up on the horizon: marriages, weddings. Okay. Uh, Almost like kingdom marriages, and some of them are not going to make sense to a lot of people, but the Lord knows what He's doing. And also wars. Yes, civil war, world war, heading to this country, heading here in America. And I don't say that lightly, but having your spiritual reserves to get you fortified for what's happening is very important. I just have to give a testimony about peace. Having peace during this time of war, because um, one of the uh, spiritual warfare tactics is to take peace from the world. One of the horsemen whom the Lord releases, the Lord unleashes hell on earth. Okay, even if He's using the kingdom of darkness, He is the one that opened the scrolls, that opened the seals in Revelation the 6th chapter, that releases hell on earth at a level, in a dimension we have not seen during His apocalyptic war on earth. Okay, so He's always told us that hell is on earth and that Satan is housed here. He's incarcerated on earth. And so let me tell you something about maintaining your peace while war ensues. Okay, while we ensue war, you have to be spiritually fortified and get your reserves up for this time. Yeah, God is good. He's blessing. He's opening certain doors, right? He's doing certain things, and He's also closing them, and there's forced conclusions so that you may have a hope and a future. And yes, it is painful, but how do you maintain peace? Some of the things that we idolize, I know me myself as well included, some of the things that you idolized and thought things were going to happen and keep going on and on and on, that didn't. How do you maintain your peace, and how do you have reserves of peace to where you still keep your mind? Make peace with the peacemaker. Yeah, because He's coming. He said when He returns, He did not come to bring peace to the world. He did not come, but He came to bring a sword. He wanted to know who's on His side. And so how He determines that is through division. So civil war is coming. It is civil war is coming, because end time is payout time. And so He would not be a righteous judge if He did not pay back that innocent blood that speaks to Him, that's been spilled all the way up until this point from the first civil war that we had. And so peace, maintaining peace is to make peace with Him. And that's through fasting, prayer, uh, uh, even leading that consecrated life, fasting, prayer, study, spending time with Him, and spending time in praise and worship with other believers as well too. And I understand you always can't share everything right now up front, but just practicing those things it will bring you to a level of peace to where you're not necessarily caught up in the drama that's being instigated through politics and media, which is a propaganda machine to instigate war on both sides. On both sides. And so it's about building up your spiritual reserves. And I'm telling you, I've had to do this coming out of a civil war as well. Seriously. And so you say, well, Lisa, just because that happened to you, that does not mean that it's going to happen to us. No, this is something that He revealed to me, and I would not talk to you about this if it had not been so. But how do you go through a country that's going to be torn by civil war? How do you do that? And the Lord lets you know in advance, this is part of His doing. I'm not blaming it on left. I'm not blaming it on right. I'm saying I'm blaming it on the Lord, and He can take it. So how is He going to lead to payback? Through civil war, through civil war. He's the one that's going to have to right the wrongs. And world war, because if you did not pay for a politician, that politician does not work for you. And so our elections have been rigged for a very, very long time. And so that politician does not work for you. They come to you with an agenda. And here's the difference about Trump. Trump is the people's president. Okay, he's not necessarily a part of the agenda, although he's playing along with it now. He's going along with things now. Okay, he actually has the bravery to say the things that the politicians who are, especially the presidents or the former presidents who are all descendants of slave owners, except him. He's the only one that's not a descendant of a slave owner. All the other presidents have that one thing in common, including vice presidents. He's the one that can say things that they want, even about where Black America comes from. Oh my God, he'll receive a crown if he open up his mouth and say that. Dead or alive. Yes. But he didn't have to play the game, because America is not ran by our politicians are puppets. America's ran by a shadow government, a committee of people. And so that's what's instigating what to put in the next system. And so who's ever going to speak and sell themselves out for the next system? That's who they typically give the presidency to. That's who get the prize of that. But he really did not need that, because he had the following and the backing to do something different and to start another system, even because we're going into like this godlike age, okay, almost like a kingdom age that we're going into. And it take a king to make a king. It does. And so with that being said, okay, in the war that's ensuing, the civil war, you can see that it's churning right now. That media machine that's churning on both sides. They did this, they did that. This person did this, that. All that is a part of taking this country captive into civil war. All that's set up to do that. And then the people who put the system in place of the last era, it's payback time. Civil war. World war is going to overtake that. Okay, and so why is world war going to overtake the innocent blood? The innocent blood of the Native Americans, innocent blood of the slaves, which is America's original sin, slavery, that never ever want to admit where the slaves really came from. We just did not come up from slavery, and America made us what we are. Actually, if it was not for the nation building of Black America, America wouldn't have a whole lot to stand on. That is the truth. So that right there has to be repaid. That debt has to be repaid. And a sign, this is just a sign, because we're living in an adulterous generation. A sign, here's your sign, okay, that is true. When world war starts, the descendants of slave owners, those who never want to let people go or release people, want to continue to keep slavery going on and on under the guise of something else, the descendants of slave owners will become slaves in a foreign land. That's payback according to Joel, the 3rd chapter. Bring out the men of war, bring out the nations to war, and give me my nation back. Let me plead with my people in the valley, in the King's Valley, or the valley of a ghetto with the nations. Look, get your weapons ready, is what he says to the kings. Bring them here so that I can bring judgment against the nations who will not release my people. And so your sign is going to be the descendants of slave owners going into slavery. Spiritual reserves to get your mind ready for war. This is not a doom and gloom. If we did not have a just God, he would not right the wrongs. because now that this nation has opened itself up to the kingdom of darkness, okay, there's going to be a greater dimension of darkness that we've never seen before. And say it's a distraction. Well, he said this is going to happen because one of the Lord's tactics during his apocalyptic battle, although he uses the kingdom of darkness to do it, he is the one that unleashes Satan from hell and all of his fallen angels. He is the one that does that. So if you're going to get mad at somebody, take it up with him, because he is the one that you have to make peace with during this whole time. They are opening up a dimension of darkness we've never seen before. Remember, I told you, when they take the rockets up, and we're like, oh, look at the marbles, look at what they're doing, look at the rocket ships, look what they've done. They are breaking through that glass ceiling, what they call a glass ceiling, which is the firmament in the sky. A layer of that, to putting a slit in the sky to open that up, to make way for a level of darkness that we have not seen before. And it's going to all make sense. But that is the strong delusion that the Lord is bringing, that for the people, okay, that for the people who reject who he is, reject his truth, and reject his plan of salvation. That's for that crowd. So when they revealed this fallen angel as an angel of light, that's the strong delusion that's taken that group of people into outer darkness. But he tells his people ahead of time. He tells his people ahead of time that these things are going to happen, so that you can know he's going to always be with you. He's going to always hear your prayers. It is almost like, literally like an open heaven, where you can receive the peace of God right now, the riches that are in him right now. And no, I'm not, when you start hearing pastors talking about he's going to crack the sky, the Lord would never put a slit in his creation or split. That's how Freemasons speak. Pastors that are Freemasons, that's how they speak. He's going to split the sky. No, the Lord gets it. He does something like what we would call teleporting. Okay, that's what he did when he came to see his disciples, when he was hiding out, when he came through the wall. Okay, that's what he did with Philip when he teleported him to speak with the eunuch, the Egyptian eunuch, to preach the gospel to him. So he does not have to tear up his creation. That's what the world's doing, and they're going to have to pay for that. They're going to have to pay for that. The world is still going to need water, which is another weapon of his war. And he said, if his people will humble themselves and pray and not go along with this sophisticated program, because my bishops say these demons are sophisticated right now, and they are. They're very sophisticated. If you believe when the experts come to you and say, well, this is the solution, you got to stop breathing. You got to pay to release the breath God gave you to make you a living soul, because that is offensive to the level of darkness that is coming. You have God's breath. God's giving breath to you. He said, if my people will humble themselves and pray and not try to keep up with how the world is progressing, so-called to the future, but it's actually heading backwards, because they learned their God are the gods of this world, which are fallen angels, and their offspring, the Nephilim. And so when they come with their remedy and solution in occult science practices, it's going to always cost you. You cannot breathe in that system, because God's breath is an offense to Satan's kingdom. God's breath is. And so you got to make peace now, because he say, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, he is going to heal, and he will release water, drinking water. Oh my God. He is going to release the water, because that's the problem that the nations are going to face. It's sort of like what he said in Zechariah, the 14th chapter. Oh God, that's why I'm so afraid. I'm fearing. It's like, do you not fear God trying to create a third temple? Oh my God, Christ don't need a third temple. He's not need when he say in the new Jerusalem that comes down from heaven, he is the temple. And the nations are going to have to come in, just like he said in Jeremiah, the 14th chapter. If Egypt does not show up to my feast and festival, because we always celebrating the world's holidays, if they don't come, not for salvation, but for water, the world is going to need water. If they do not celebrate my feast of tabernacle, because I'm dwelling among my people as a priest, high king. Okay, because Christ is our Moses, Christ is our King David, and he is also our high priest. He's all of that, right? If you don't come celebrate him tabernacling among his people, okay, there will be no rain. This not for salvation, this for rain. He say, look, the 12 trees that grow on either side of the rivers in the new Jerusalem that comes down from heaven are for the healing of the nations. But they have to come in, because everything on the outside are the dogs. Outside are the people who are into outer darkness. Outer darkness. He say, if my people will humble themselves and pray, because as soon as you think you have to pay to breathe, you are taken captive into the next system, which is a war against the God of heaven and earth. Yeah, they're opening up a new dimension, a portal to bring in darkness. And so when they bring in this so-called Christ from the dimension that they're opening up, it's a fallen angel. And it is a strong delusion as a penalty for not accepting Christ, not accepting his truth, and not accepting his sacrifice. He is the head of that war. He is the head of this war. Blame it on him. He can take it. Yes, because he is the King of kings and Lord of lords. So he is luring the nations out to war. I've seen more wars now. I've been watching the war in Niger and what's going on there as well. That also has a prophetic significance as well. All this war that's going on, the whole world is leading up to this world war. It is. And the change. And so how is he going to bring change? Through war. How did he bring his people out of Egypt? Through war. How did he bring his people out of Babylon? Through war. Another nation, another evil nation took over evil nation that coughed his people up and sent them back to build his second temple. Through war. So that is how that is going to happen. And so how do you get your mind ready for war? Huh? How do you build up your spiritual reserves, right? And I don't buy into, well, there's Israel, okay, which are 12 tribes, his 12 tribes that are scattered. That's what he's pleading with the nations for. Bringing my 12 tribes back together, okay, which includes all the Gentile nations who came together as one body, according to Ephesians, the 3rd chapter. So there is no two separate people. It's both people under Christ, Jew and Gentile, or Israel and Gentile, as one body. There's just one Lord and one body. Well, this is going to wear out the saints. Well, yeah, that's why the spiritual reserves are important, because what? You become a fortified city under Christ. You become a fortified city under Christ. So why is this important right now? Because he ordered the war. He actually, both wars, and what's happening in this nation. Why? Because we're going into a different era. It is actually an era of really like a greater glory of who he is, because everything he said that we ignore and we take for granted that, oh, okay, it's just this. No, it's going to become manifest, and his glory is going to be even more manifest than it is right now. It's like he did tell us Satan was was housed with us. We just didn't know at what level. Now you're getting ready to see that, because he is the one that opened the seals of all the scrolls to release this to happen on earth. And so part of their role is to take one fourth. I know it's going to look like it's a planned famine. It's because it's part of their role. Part of their role is to take one fourth of the earth, of life off of earth, by famine, by sword, by pestilence, by disease. That is their role in this war. But the harvest that's coming to him as a result of seeing that he is his glory is just that great. The gospel is glorious. His glory is just that great to where people say, oh my God, who need politics when you got the kingdom of God? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Have to pray for rain, pray for water. Yes, it's gonna get to that part, because water is going to be a problem. But some places what may not believe, some states, some cities may not believe, but those who do believe, those who do know they need to turn to God in prayer for these things, that will humble themselves enough. All you had to do was just humble yourself and just ask. That's it. Because it's miracle time. Just like a miracle last week. Because it's actually miracle time. For real. For real. And so you're gonna see him at a level and control people. Well, some people, okay, some people are gonna see him at a level of control we've never seen him in. And other people are gonna be, where is God? Watching the war, waging the war. Yeah. And he is the Prince of Peace. And so spiritual reserves is for the believer to build them up on the inside. Say, yeah, I see that happening, but my trust is actually in my Savior, and I got peace about it. Not to say you're not gonna, not to say you're not gonna do anything, not gonna go on with your daily life. All I'm saying is that don't consider it strange, these fiery trials that's about to come up on the earth. It's not that this is a planned event, and the Lord is with us always. God bless, and I will talk with you soon.